Ethan Cole lay on the cold alien ground, breathing hard, bleeding, but still alive. Smoke floated across the battlefield like gray ghosts. Strange blue fires burned everywhere. Metallic towers had fallen, and the air tasted like iron and dust. Ethan tried to move his arm, but pain hit him like a hammer. He blinked. Shadows moved around him. Not human shadows. Tall figures with glowing armor closed in. Their voices clicked and echoed in a language he couldn't understand. Ethan tried to push himself up, but his vision blurred. Then everything stopped. The shadows parted, and she stepped forward. The alien queen. Her skin shimmered like silver stone, her eyes bright like twin suns. She moved with slow, careful steps, as if approaching a dangerous animal. The soldiers formed a circle around Ethan, their weapons trembling. The queen stared at Ethan's wound, and her eyes widened in terror. "This is impossible," she whispered. "No living creature can survive a wound like this." Ethan looked down. The gash across his ribs was deep, blood dripping onto the alien soil. He should have been unconscious or dead. But something inside him refused to let go. The alien soldiers whispered nervously. "He should be dead. He is still breathing. Is this really a human?" The queen stepped back, fear on her face. "A human should not survive this. What are you?" Ethan didn't have the strength to answer. He only managed a weak smile, because if he stopped smiling, he might stop living. The queen raised a hand, her voice sharp. "Capture him alive. No matter the cost. He is too dangerous to die." The soldiers hesitated. Dangerous? Him? Ethan tried to move, but the world tilted sideways. The aliens rushed toward him with glowing restraints. He reached for his sidearm, but his hand shook too much to grip it. His vision flickered. Lights, shadows, then darkness. He could still hear their voices. Careful, he might wake up. Look at his skin. It is healing already. No, that is impossible. Humans cannot do that. The queen's voice came last, echoing through the fading light. If this is what one wounded human can endure, then their species is far more dangerous than we believed. Ethan drifted in and out of consciousness. Cold metal under his back. Bright lights above him. An alien tool buzzing near his skin. He tried to open his eyes again. The ceiling wasn't a ceiling. It looked like a massive, glowing web. Alien symbols floated across the walls. The air smelled sharp, like chemicals and electric storms. He was in an alien medical chamber. He lifted his head. His wrists and ankles were trapped in strange metal bands, pulsing with blue light. Every time he pulled, the bands tightened. He heard footsteps. The queen stood outside a transparent barrier, watching him like a scientist watching a rare creature. "You should be dead," she said softly. "You break every natural rule. Your heart beats, even with blood loss that kills my strongest warriors." Ethan swallowed, his throat dry. He tried to speak, but only a rough whisper came out. "I'm just human." The aliens behind the queen murmured in fear. "He speaks calmly. He does not understand what he is. He does not know his own power." Ethan wanted to laugh, but he didn't have the energy. Power? If he had power, he wouldn't be tied to a metal table on an alien ship. The queen moved closer. Her eyes softened, but only a little. "Human, your species should not exist. You survive too much. You adapt too fast. You recover too quickly. It frightens us." He tried to sit up, but the restraints held him down. "What do you want?" he managed. Before she could answer, an alarm exploded through the room. Red lights flashed. The ship shook violently. Alien soldiers ran across the hallway. "We are under attack." Another fleet just dropped out of warp. They want the human. They want him dead. The queen looked toward the alarms, her face tightening. "They cannot take him," she hissed. "He must not fall into their hands." Another explosion rocked the ship. Ethan flinched as sparks fell from the ceiling. The queen stared at him for a long moment, as if making a decision she did not want to make. Then she placed her hand on a glowing panel. The restraints around Ethan clicked open. He gasped, sitting up, pain shooting through his ribs. The queen met his eyes. "You want to live, don't you, human?" Ethan nodded weakly. Good, she said, because you must fight to live. And right now, I need you alive. He slid off the table, almost falling. The floor shook again. The Queen stepped beside him, her voice low and tense. Move with me. Stay behind me. Do not die yet. Ethan forced himself to stand straight. And somewhere deep inside him, something old and stubborn woke up. He wasn't done. He wouldn't die here. Not today. And before the story continues, if you enjoy such sci-fi human hero stories, take a moment and gently subscribe to this channel so you never miss the next chapter. Now, back to Ethan. He took his first painful step forward, and the war outside the chamber grew louder, closer, deadlier. The real battle was about to begin. Ethan stumbled through the shaking hallway, lights flickering, sirens screaming, and the alien queen walking ahead of him with sharp, controlled steps. The ship groaned like a dying beast. Metallic dust rained from the ceiling. Ethan's legs felt weak, but he forced himself to keep moving. His wounded side burned with every breath, but something inside him refused to slow down. The Queen glanced back at him, studying the strange human who should have been dead. You should not be standing, she said. You lose blood, yet you walk. Ethan wiped blood from his mouth. Guess humans are stubborn. The Queen didn't answer, but her eyes softened, very slightly. They reached a long corridor where alien soldiers rushed past, shouting in panic. They boarded the lower deck. Protect the Queen. Do not let them near the human. Ethan frowned. Why does everyone want me dead? The Queen stopped and faced him. You do not understand what you are in this galaxy, human. He raised an eyebrow. I'm just a soldier. The Queen stepped closer, her voice low. To us, you are impossible. Ethan wanted to ask more, but a violent explosion threw both of them off their feet. He hit the wall hard, dust filling his lungs. The Queen pushed herself up first and extended a hand. Ethan took it. Her hand was colder than ice, but strong. They kept moving until they reached a massive circular door. The Queen placed her palm on the panel, and the door slid open, revealing a dim chamber filled with floating screens and blue lights. It was some kind of command center. Inside, alien officers stared at Ethan with wide, frightened eyes. One soldier whispered, "He looks normal, so small. How does something like that survive such wounds?" Another added, "Humans are nightmares. My grandfather fought them. He said they kept getting back up, no matter what you did." Ethan sighed. Great. I'm Space Bigfoot. The Queen lifted her hand, and the soldiers immediately fell silent. Leave us. They hurried out. The door sealed behind them with a heavy thud. Ethan stood alone with the Queen in the quiet chamber, glowing with shifting lights and alien symbols. The Queen circled him slowly, like studying a strange relic. You keep walking, she said softly. Your wound refuses to kill you. Your heart keeps beating. Your body adapts faster than any species I have studied. Ethan sat on a metal platform, breathing hard. Humans aren't magic, he said. We just don't quit easy. She stopped beside him. That is what makes you dangerous. He looked up at her, confused. She continued. 1,000 years ago, my people discovered early humans on a distant planet. Primitive, weak, but when injured, they fought harder. When dying, they survived longer. Ethan frowned. We're not as tough as you think. We bleed. We break. Yes, she said. But you continue. Before he could reply, the ship shook again, much harder. Sparks exploded from the ceiling. A deep metallic groan traveled through the floor. The Queen tapped a control on her wrist. Another alarm blared. They have breached the engine room, she said. Our shield is failing. Ethan stood up. How do we stop them? You cannot fight in your condition. Ethan grinned weakly. You haven't seen humans on a bad day. The Queen stared at him again, confused, fascinated, and afraid, all at once. Before she spoke, a soldier burst through the door. Your Majesty, they are coming this way. We must evacuate. She nodded. We take the escape wing, she said. Bring the human. Ethan blinked. I have a name. The Queen paused, then slowly said, Ethan. Hearing his name from her voice felt strange, almost gentle. The soldier led them through an emergency corridor glowing with red lights. The walk was long, the ship shaking around them. Ethan tried to keep pace, but his wound throbbed like fire. He staggered once. The Queen instantly caught his arm. "You fall, you die," she said. "You die, they win." Ethan forced a smile. No pressure. They finally reached a narrow bridge suspended over a deep mechanical pit. Below them, giant gears rotated and sparks rained upward. The heat was intense. Halfway across, the ship trembled violently. The lights went out. Only red flashes lit the bridge. Ethan grabbed the railing to steady himself. The Queen did the same. Then, from the far end of the bridge, shapes appeared. Enemies. Armored aliens with red glowing eyes, carrying heavy weapons. Their footsteps echoed like thunder as they approached. The Queen whispered, "They want only one thing." Ethan swallowed. "Me?" "Yes." He breathed out slowly. "Then let's not make it easy." The enemies raised their weapons. Ethan stepped in front of the Queen, not behind her. She froze, shocked. "You protect me?" she asked quietly. Ethan didn't look back. "Where I come from, we don't leave people behind." For a moment, the Queen said nothing. Her eyes glowed softly, something between respect and disbelief. Then the shooting began. Ethan grabbed the fallen soldier's weapon. He fired blindly, his body shaking from pain. Lasers crashed into the metal around them. The bridge shook. The heat rose. The Queen covered his flank, her energy blade slicing through incoming shots. A blast hit the railing near Ethan. Fire erupted. The bridge cracked. "Move," the Queen shouted. They ran. The bridge collapsed behind them, molten metal falling like rain. Ethan pushed himself harder than his body allowed. His wound tore open again, blood staining his shirt. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. When they finally reached the end of the bridge, the door sealed shut behind them. Ethan collapsed to one knee, gasping. The Queen knelt beside him, touching the edge of his wound. Her fingers trembled. The first time he had seen fear in her touch. "Ow," she whispered. "How can a human survive this?" Ethan looked up at her, pain twisting his face, but still smiling. "Because quitting isn't in our DNA." The Queen stared at him in silence, realizing the legends were true, and also realizing she was now standing beside something the galaxy didn't understand, but would soon fear or follow. The path ahead was only growing darker, and Ethan knew this escape was only the beginning. The escape corridor hummed with cold blue light as Ethan leaned against the wall, breathing hard, blood drying on his torn shirt. The Queen stood in front of him, her silver eyes scanning a glowing panel. Her hands moved fast, but Ethan could tell. She was worried. He hadn't seen her worried before. "The escape wing is ahead," she said softly. "We must reach the shuttle before they disable it." Ethan pushed himself upright. "Let's move then." The Queen looked at him, really looked at him. "You are exhausted. Your body should be shutting down." Ethan smirked. "Should be." She didn't argue. She only turned and continued forward, her long cloak brushing the metallic floor. The corridor stretched onward like a giant mechanical throat. Pipes hissed. Vents exhaled warm air. Lights flickered as the ship groaned under the weight of the ongoing attack. Halfway through, Ethan slowed. His vision doubled. The walls swayed. The ground shifted beneath his feet like water. The Queen turned instantly. "You are falling," she said, reaching for his arm. Ethan blinked. "Just balancing my blood pressure." She caught him before he collapsed. Her grip was unexpectedly gentle. "You risk death," she murmured. "Yet you continue forward." Ethan forced a shaky grin. "Story of my life." She studied him for a long moment, as if reading something written deep inside him. Then she helped him walk. Step by step, their shadows stretched along the wall, side by side. They reached a heavy circular door. The Queen scanned her palm, but the door only buzzed in protest. Ethan frowned. "What's wrong?" "They have locked us out," she said, tapping the panel again. "They want me trapped with you." Ethan leaned on the wall. "So we're wanted criminals now." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "No, you are a threat to them. If they kill you, The galaxy sleeps easier. Comforting, he muttered. She tried the panel again, but the lights turned red. Locked. Ethan stepped forward. Move. The Queen raised an eyebrow. You cannot force this door open. Ethan didn't answer. Instead, he examined the side panel. Wires hummed inside. Sparks lit the edges. He dug his fingers under the metal plate. The Queen watched with disbelief. You are injured. You should not. Ethan ripped the panel off, flinging it aside. The Queen stared at him as if witnessing something impossible. You break metal with no tools. Ethan shrugged. Basic human frustration. He grabbed two wires and twisted them together. A burst of electricity shocked his arm, making his muscles twitch. The door hissed. Then slowly, it opened. The Queen stepped back, breath caught in her throat. I begin to fear your species more every minute. Ethan stepped past her. You haven't even seen me in the morning. They entered a narrow passage that led to a docking platform. The huge bay doors were half open, showing the black, endless stars outside. A small escape shuttle hovered in the center, lights glowing softly. At last, but the moment they stepped toward it, a cold metallic voice echoed through the chamber. Halt! A squad of armored enemies emerged from the shadows, blocking the path to the shuttle. Their armor was darker than before, sleeker, deadlier. The Queen whispered, These are elite hunters. Ethan whispered back, Great, space ninjas. The hunters lowered their weapons. The human comes with us, the leaders said. The Queen may leave, alive, if she abandons him. Ethan felt the Queen's posture shift. A dangerous stillness. She stepped in front of him. No. The leader tilted his head. Why protect him? He is only flesh. The Queen's voice was sharp as a blade. He saved my life. Twice. The leader's eyes glowed red. Foolish loyalty. Ethan stepped beside her. I'm used to that. The hunters raised their weapons. The Queen whispered, Stay behind me. Ethan whispered, Not happening. They exchanged a single look. A strange, silent agreement. Then the room exploded into motion. Ethan grabbed a fallen pipe and swung it at the first hunter. His arms trembled, but his strike cracked armor. The hunters retaliated with energy blasts that scorched the floor around him. The Queen moved like liquid lightning, her energy blades slicing through attacks, her cloak spinning behind her. But there were too many enemies. A hunter slammed Ethan into a wall. Pain tore through his ribs. The room tilted. His legs shook. The hunter aimed a blade at Ethan's throat, until a silver blur flashed. The Queen's blade sliced through the hunter's wrist. He screamed. Ethan staggered to his feet. You okay? He asked, breathing hard. The Queen didn't answer. She grabbed his arm and pulled him behind cover. You cannot keep this up, she said, her voice tight. Ethan wiped blood from his lip. I don't need to keep it up long. Just long enough. For what? She asked. Ethan pointed upward. A massive fuel pipe ran across the ceiling. The Queen's eyes widened as she understood. He lifted the pipe he'd used as a weapon, aimed, and threw it with everything he had left. It hit the pipe. Hard. The metal cracked. Fuel sprayed out. Sparks flew from the hunter's weapons. The chamber ignited into a roaring fireball. The blast threw Ethan and the Queen backward. He hit the ground with a painful grunt. She landed beside him, shielding him with her body as debris rained down. When the fire faded, the hunters were down. Smoke filled the room. Ethan coughed, struggling to breathe. The Queen touched his shoulder. You destroyed them, while half dead. He smirked weakly. Imagine me on a good day. She shook her head in disbelief. You humans, your will is terrifying. Ethan forced himself to sit upright. Come on, shuttle's waiting. The Queen looked at him for a long moment. Not with fear anymore, but with something close to respect. Maybe even admiration. Together, they stood. Together, they walked toward the escape shuttle. And as the bay doors closed behind them, the Queen realized something she had never thought possible. The galaxy's most dangerous creature was not the strongest, not the fastest, not the smartest. It was simply the one that refused to fall. A human. The shuttle roared through the burning sky, shaking so hard it felt like the universe itself wanted to tear it apart. Ethan gripped the seat straps, his knuckles white. The Queen stood beside him, stabilizing herself with one hand on a glowing control pillar. Her sharp, calm voice cut through the chaos. "Brace! The engines are failing." Ethan coughed. "When you say failing, you mean?" The shuttle lurched downward. "That," he muttered. Outside the window, streaks of fire wrapped the hull like flaming ribbons. Below them, a strange planet spun closer, covered in dark forests, purple storms, and glowing rivers of neon blue. Another explosion rocked the shuttle. The Queen slammed her palm onto a panel. "System redirect. Emergency glide mode." The AI answered with a cold tone. "Glide mode impossible. Damage critical." Ethan tightened his grip. "We're crashing, aren't we?" "Yes," the Queen said. "Calm. Too calm." The planet rushed up at them, a wall of violent colors. "Hold on," she added, right before the shuttle hit the atmosphere like a stone skipping on fire. Everything became a blur of light and heat. Then, impact. The shuttle smashed through trees, skidding across a rough clearing. Metal tore apart like paper. Sparks flew everywhere. The world spun until it felt like it turned inside out. When the wreck finally stopped, there was only silence. A deep, heavy silence. Ethan opened his eyes slowly. Smoke drifted past his face. His ears rang. Everything hurt. But he was alive. Again. He groaned, pushing himself up. The Queen was already on her feet, brushing leaves and dust from her cloak. She looked almost untouched by the crash. "How?" Ethan whispered, staring at her. "How are you standing?" Her eyes glowed faintly. "My bones are reinforced with crystalline fibers. Your bones, however, are not. Do not move too fast." Ethan laughed weakly. Too late. He tried to stand, and nearly fell again. The Queen caught him, her cold hand steadying him. "You humans," she said, almost sounding tired. "You break, but then you simply stand back up." Ethan smirked. "You're learning." The moment they stepped outside the wreck, the air hit them. Warm, heavy, and filled with strange glowing particles. Massive trees towered above them, their bark pulsing with light like living circuits. The sky shimmered with 3 moons. The Queen scanned the surroundings. "This planet is wild. Untamed. Many creatures here will hunt us." Ethan nodded. "Great. Perfect vacation spot." The Queen ignored his sarcasm and stepped forward, her eyes scanning the terrain with sharp precision. "We need shelter before nightfall." Ethan studied the sky. "Is night here bad?" The Queen turned to him. "Night is when everything on this planet wakes." "Oh, fun." They moved toward the forest edge. Every step Ethan took sent pain shooting through his ribs, but he kept moving. The Queen walked ahead, slicing through thick vines with her energy blade. Suddenly, a deep growl echoed from the shadows. Ethan froze. "Please tell me that was your stomach." "No." Her blade ignited brighter. "That was a predator." From the darkness, 2 glowing green eyes appeared. Then another pair. Then 2 more. Shapes slithered between the trees, tall, thin creatures with too many limbs, moving low to the ground with unnatural speed. Ethan whispered, "Okay, those things are not friendly." The Queen stepped in front of him. "Stay behind me." Ethan grabbed a broken metal beam from the wreck. "Not happening. We do this together." The Queen's eyes flickered, surprised, again, that a fragile human kept choosing danger beside her. The creatures screeched and charged. The Queen swung her blade in a silver arc, cutting 2 predators down instantly. Ethan swung his metal beam like a baseball bat, knocking a creature sideways. Pain shot through his ribs, but he didn't stop. One creature leaped at him, claws outstretched. The Queen shot forward, grabbing it mid-air and slamming it into a tree with impossible strength. Ethan blinked. "Okay, that was badass." The Queen turned to him, chest rising with sharp breaths. "You are reckless." "You're welcome." The remaining creatures backed away, hissing, then melted back into the forest darkness. Ethan leaned against a glowing tree, catching his breath. "So this is what you call untamed." The Queen scanned the ground. "We must move. More will come. Blood, your blood, draws them." Ethan looked down. His shirt was soaked again. Fantastic. They pushed onward until they reached a rocky area with a shallow cave. The Queen inspected it carefully, then nodded. This will do. Ethan slumped against the cave wall. Nice. A 5-star alien cave. Very cozy. The Queen didn't answer. She knelt in front of him instead, pulling a glowing container from her belt. Ethan stared. What's that? Medical nanogel, she said. It accelerates healing, but it is not made for humans. Ethan swallowed. So it might help, or kill me. Yes. He sighed. Perfect odds. Let's do it. She hesitated, not something she usually did. You fight when you should fall. You walk when you should crawl. Even now, you choose pain instead of rest. Why? Ethan looked at her through tired eyes. Because if I stop moving, I stop surviving. The Queen stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then she applied the gel. It burned like liquid fire. Ethan clenched his teeth, gripping the cave floor. His heart raced. His vision blurred white. But slowly, the pain eased. The Queen watched him closely. You survived too much, she whispered. It scares me. Ethan let out a shaky breath. Get used to it. Outside the cave, the forest came alive with glowing lights and distant roars. The Queen sat beside him, her blade resting across her knees, guarding the entrance. Ethan closed his eyes, knowing sleep wouldn't come easy. Not on a planet like this. Not with every shadow watching. But he wasn't alone. Not anymore. And as the alien night awakened, the most dangerous thing on this wild planet was still a wounded human who refused to stay down. The alien night wrapped around the cave like a living, breathing thing. Strange lights drifted through the forest, floating orbs, glowing insects, sparks of neon life. Every distant roar echoed against the stone walls. Ethan sat with his back against the cave, trying to steady his breathing. The nanogel still burned under his skin, a deep fire that pulsed with every heartbeat. But he could feel it working, slowly stitching him back together. The Queen sat at the entrance, blade across her knees, eyes scanning the darkness. Every so often, she would glance at Ethan, as if checking whether he was still alive. He gave her a faint smile. Still breathing. Disappointed. She did not turn. I am surprised. Now that hurts more than the wound, Ethan muttered. A faint rumble passed through the ground. The Queen's posture shifted instantly. She leaned forward, alert. Something large is moving, she said. Deep beneath us. Underground monsters. Ethan sighed. Perfect. This planet really loves us. The Queen's eyes flickered. Do all humans joke at death? Only the good ones, he said. Silence settled again, but a lighter kind of silence. The kind shared between warriors after surviving something they shouldn't. After a long moment, Ethan spoke softly. So, you mentioned humans scared your people. What really happened? The Queen didn't answer immediately. Her gaze drifted toward the glowing forest, as if searching the shadows of memory. Finally, she spoke. 8,000 years ago, my ancestors discovered a primitive human tribe. They were small, slow, fragile. She paused. Yet they won. Ethan frowned. Won? Against who? My people. Her voice was cold, but not angry, more like she was reciting a long-buried truth. We attempted to conquer their world. There was no logical reason we should lose. We had armor, weapons, advanced minds. She turned her gaze to him. They had nothing but stone tools and fire. And they beat you. Ethan asked, stunned. Their bodies broke, she said. Their bones shattered. Their flesh tore. But every time we struck them down, they rose again. Ethan stayed at the cave floor, unsure what to say. We believe they were cursed, she continued. Or blessed. A species without limits. A species that refuses death. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. That's not a superpower. That's just stubbornness. Stubbornness, she repeated, as if it is something simple. It is, Ethan said. Humans survive because we have to. Because we don't get a choice. Because someone else is always counting on us. The Queen studied him for a long moment. My people called humans the endless ones. Not because you live forever, but because you fight as if you will. Ethan smirked weakly. Well, I'm not endless. I just don't like giving up. The Queen turned back to the forest. Ethan noticed something new in her eyes. Respect, maybe even something deeper. She spoke more quietly now, almost thoughtful. Tell me, Ethan, on your world, does your kind always fight for each other? Mostly, he said. We're messy, emotional. We argue. But if someone's in danger, yeah, we fight for them. And you fought for me, she said. He blinked. I fought with you. Big difference. She shook her head. When the hunters attacked, you put yourself in front of me. A human, injured and weak, protecting a queen of a stronger species. Her voice dipped low. That is not logic. That is not instinct. That is something else. Ethan shrugged. Just felt like the right thing to do. Why? He looked at her, really looked. Her sharp silver features softened by the cave's glow. Her fierce confidence tempered now with curiosity, and something like vulnerability. He finally said, because nobody deserves to die alone. Not even an alien queen. For the first time since he met her, the Queen looked away, almost flustered. Before she could answer, a thunderous roar ripped through the forest. The ground trembled. The cave walls vibrated. Dust fell from above. Ethan sat up straighter. What now? The Queen rose to her feet, blade igniting. That, she whispered, is the apex. Ethan felt his stomach drop. Apex. As an apex predator. Yes, the ruler of this planet's night. Another roar shook the air. Closer this time. Ethan tried to rise, but pain twisted through his ribs. The Queen stepped toward him immediately. Stay down. Your body is still weak. Ethan managed to smile. From what I've seen, you're kinda strong enough for the both of us. She leaned slightly closer, and yet you still try to stand. That's my charm. Something massive moved outside the cave. Trees cracked. Branches snapped like bones. The forest went silent, terrified silent. The Queen gripped her blade. It searches for the warmest blood. Yours. Ethan sighed. Of course it does. A huge shadow passed the cave entrance, too big to fully see. Only its glowing red eyes appeared in the darkness. Watching, waiting, the Queen whispered, do not make a sound. Ethan froze, breath shallow. The creature sniffed the air, loud and hungry. Its claws scraped the earth. Ethan felt the Queen's hand touch his shoulder, steadying him, comforting him, without words. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, the creature growled and moved away. Slowly, heavily, leaving deep cracks in the earth. The Queen exhaled. Ethan whispered, guess it didn't like my blood after all. Oh, the Queen said. It sensed something more dangerous. Ethan raised a brow. Me? No, she said. Her voice soft. Her gaze steady. You and me. Together. Ethan leaned back against the cave wall, exhausted but smiling. Now that, he said, sounds like trouble. The Queen finally sat beside him. Yes, she whispered. For this planet, and for the galaxy. Because in that moment, she understood something new. Something her people had forgotten. Humans were not feared because they were impossible to kill. Humans were feared because they never stopped protecting others. Even aliens. Even queens. Even strangers. And for the first time in her long life, the Queen felt strange warmth inside her chest. Hope. The first faint glow of alien dawn crept across the forest. Soft blue light filtering through giant leaves, casting strange shapes on the cave walls. Ethan didn't sleep much. Every time he closed his eyes, a distant roar or shifting shadow snapped him awake again. But somehow, he felt stronger than he had last night. The nanogel worked, slowly, painfully, but it worked. The Queen stood outside the cave entrance, silent, still, watching the forest with eyes that never seemed to rest. Her blade glowed faintly at her side, humming like a quiet warning to anything that dared approach. Ethan pushed himself to his feet. You don't sleep, do you? She didn't turn. I rest in short cycles. My senses remain active. So, like a cosmic guard dog. She finally looked back at him with narrowed eyes. Explain, Doug. Ethan grinned. Never mind. Compliment. Sort of. She shook her head, clearly not convinced. But before she could lecture him on alien dignity, the forest fell silent. Too silent. The Queen tensed. Something changed. Ethan walked beside her, staring into the trees. Maybe the apex decided to sleep in. No, she murmured. The silence means something else is coming. The ground vibrated. Ethan's breath caught. Not a predator this time. Not a wild creature. Something metallic. A low mechanical hum rose through the forest, followed by the thunder of heavy boots. The Queen whispered one word. Hunters. Ethan's stomach dropped. The same ones from the ship. No, she said darkly. These are worse. The elite of the elite. They do not stop. They do not retreat. They do not fear. Ethan exhaled slowly. So basically, terrible news. Yes. Branches snapped far away, too rhythmic to be natural. Ethan grabbed a sharp piece of scrap metal from the ground. The Queen raised her blade. A deep rumbling horn sounded in the distance. Cold. Metallic. A hunter signal. Ethan's heart thudded. They're tracking us. They are tracking you, the Queen corrected. Your blood. Your heat. Your heartbeat. Lucky me. The Queen stepped closer, lowering her voice. Do not underestimate them. They believe you are the missing variable in their war. If they kill you, they erase possibility itself. Ethan blinked. I'm not that important. To them, you are, she said. Before Ethan could respond, the hunter line broke through the forest. Massive armored figures, twice Ethan's height. Black plating. Red glowing visors. Weapons built to tear through battleships. One of them raised a loudspeaker. Human Ethan Cole. Surrender. We require your termination. Ethan muttered. I liked it better when aliens didn't know my name. The Queen stepped in front of him. You will not touch him. The hunters turned their guns toward her. You have betrayed your empire, their leaders said. You protect the anomaly instead of eliminating him. The Queen's blade hummed with deadly light. I protect what has earned my respect. Ethan blinked. Pretty sure that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me. She ignored him, eyes fixed on the hunters. The leader aimed his weapon. Stand down, Queen Vilara. You cannot defeat us. Ethan whispered. We need a plan. She whispered back. We run. Run? You? The Queen who cuts monsters in half. Yes, she said. These are not monsters. These are soldiers who kill queens. Without another word, she grabbed Ethan's arm and pulled him deeper into the forest. The hunters opened fire. Blue energy bolts exploded behind them. Trees split. Ground tore apart. Ethan stumbled, but the Queen dragged him onward, faster than he could possibly run alone. Shortcut. Ethan gasped. To survival, she said. They dodged through thick vines, slipped over glowing roots, jumped across a narrow ridge. The hunters followed without slowing. Ethan risked a glance back. Yeah, they're definitely not getting tired. Hunters do not get tired, she said. And they know this planet well. Great. We don't even have home field advantage. They darted into a rocky canyon, echoing with old fossils and shimmering crystals. The Queen suddenly stopped. Ethan crashed into her. What? Why are we stopping? She pointed. Ahead, a massive ravine cut straight across the canyon. A drop so deep Ethan couldn't even see the bottom. We cannot cross that, she said. Can they? A metallic boom answered him. The hunters were already entering the canyon behind them. Ethan's grip tightened on his makeshift blade. No way out. Who? The Queen's jaw clenched. There's one way, she whispered. But it is dangerous even for my species. Let me guess, Ethan said. It involves me doing something stupid. She met his eyes. Very. He sighed. Let's hear it. We jump, she said. Ethan stayed at the ravine, at the endless drop, at the nothingness waiting below. Vilara, that's a death sentence. Only if you are alone. She stepped closer, placing a hand over his wound as glowing particles rose around her fingers. My exoskeleton can absorb the impact. If I brace us both, we may survive. May isn't great odds. She leaned in. Better than staying here. Behind them, the hunters charged their weapons. Ethan swallowed hard. "All right," he said, voice trembling but steady. "I trust you." The Queen's eyes widened slightly at his words, but only for a heartbeat. She wrapped one arm around his torso, pulling him tight against her armored body. "No matter what," she said softly, "do not let go." Ethan nodded. The hunters fired, a blast so strong it shook the canyon. The Queen stepped onto the edge and jumped. They fell into the abyss. Wind roared. Light blurred. The world turned weightless. Ethan felt his body drifting away, but her arms tightened around him. Her voice, calm even as they plunged into darkness. "I told you, human. I do not let those I respect fall alone." The ground rushed toward them like a silent scream, and the true impact of fate waited below. They fell like two broken stars dropping out of the sky, the ravine swallowing them whole, wind screaming past their ears as the abyss dragged them down. Ethan felt weightless, breathless, helpless, but not afraid, because the Queen's arms held him tight, her body wrapped around his like a living shield. Cold armor pressed against his ribs. Her heartbeat, steady and fierce, thumped against his chest. For a moment, in the middle of this impossible fall, Ethan felt strangely safe. Then the Queen whispered, "Brace." The world slammed into them. A burst of blinding pain flashed through Ethan's bones as they crashed onto a massive layer of glowing crystal. The impact shattered the crystal surface, sending shards exploding like blue fire. Ethan rolled, coughing, gasping for breath. His vision swirled. The Queen staggered to her feet first, armor cracked but unbroken. "You alive?" she asked. Ethan groaned. "Yeah, I think so. My organs are negotiating, but they are staying." The Queen offered her hand. Ethan took it and stood. Above them, the ravine's edges looked impossibly far away, just a faint, flickering line of sky. The sound of the hunters faded into distant echoes. "We are safe from them, for now," the Queen said. Ethan leaned against a crystal pillar. "So, where are we?" The Queen ran her fingers along the glowing formations. An underground lattice. Very old, very unstable. "So, dangerous." "Yes." Ethan chuckled. "Of course." They started walking deeper into the crystal caverns. The tunnels glowed softly with shifting patterns of light, like veins carrying energy through the earth. Strange humming vibrations echoed around them. Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. "This place feels alive." "It is," the Queen said. "The crystals store energy from the planet's core. Step in correctly and they will release that energy, violently." Ethan stared at her. "You mean this place explodes if we annoy it?" "Yes." "Perfect." But something about the cavern was beautiful. The way the walls shimmered like stars. The way light danced across the Queen's armor. The way each step sounded like walking across chimes. As they moved deeper, Ethan noticed something. The Queen was limping. He stopped. "You're hurt." "Minor damage," she said. "You saved my life with that jump," Ethan replied. "Let me return the favor." He held out his arm. The Queen stared at him, surprised. Aliens might have fought beside her before, but none had ever offered support so simply, so humanly. Slowly, hesitantly, she accepted his help. Together, they walked. For a while, there was silence. Only their footsteps and the low hum of ancient energy. Then Ethan spoke softly. "Back there, you said you don't let those you respect fall alone." "Yes." "Why?" he asked. Her answer took time. "In my world, strength decides everything. Our leaders are powerful, emotionless, untouchable." Her voice echoed through the crystal. "Respect is rare. Trust is rarer. Compassion is almost extinct." Ethan looked at her. "And you're different." She didn't reply immediately, but the shadows of her past flickered in her eyes. "I was raised to be perfect. A queen who never hesitates, never fears, never bends." She paused. "But when I saw you continue fighting, with wounds that would kill my strongest, when I saw you protect me instead of saving yourself." Her voice chilled with something like awe. "I realized perfection is not strength. You showed me true strength." Ethan shifted awkwardly. I'm just doing what any human would. No, the Queen whispered. Not any. Not all. But you, Ethan Cole, are different. He didn't know what to say, but even without words, something passed between them. Respect, trust, and something deeper neither dared name. The cavern floor trembled suddenly. A line of cracks shot across the crystals like lightning. The Queen's grip tightened. They found us, she said. Ethan looked up. Dozens of glowing red dots appeared on the ravine wall above. Hunter drones. The Queen's face hardened. They will send ground units next. So we fight? Ethan asked. No, we end this. She led him deeper until they reached the cavern's heart. A massive crystalline core pulsing like a giant heartbeat. This chamber amplifies energy, she explained. If I overload it, it will release a blast strong enough to destroy the hunters. Ethan stared at her. Wait, overload. Like, detonate it. Yes. And what happens to us? She met his eyes. We will die. Ethan shook his head instantly. No, absolutely not. We find another way. There's no other way. There's always another way, he snapped. That's what humans do. We find something, anything, and we survive. She stepped closer. Ethan, sometimes survival is not the goal. Sometimes sacrifice. No. His voice cracked. I didn't survive this long just to watch you die. The Queen looked shaken, more shaken than by any battle. You would stop me, even if it means the end of your kind. Yes, Ethan said. Without hesitation. The cavern shook again. Hunters were climbing down. Ethan suddenly noticed something. The energy core pulsed in a rhythm. A pattern. He stared at the Queen. What if we don't destroy it, but redirect it? Her eyes widened slightly. Explain. Ethan pointed at two crystal conduits branching out like roots. Those channels lead outward. Right. Yes. If we send a controlled surge through them, we can create a shield instead of an explosion. A barrier the hunters can't cross. The Queen blinked. That would require impossible timing. And this system is ancient, unstable. Ethan grinned. Lucky for you, humans do impossible on Tuesdays. She stared at him, then nodded. Very well. We try. They move quickly, aligning crystal nodes, syncing patterns, forcing the ancient system awake. The hunters reached the cavern mouth. Now! Ethan shouted. The Queen struck the core with her blade. A controlled strike, precise and powerful. Light exploded outward, not destructively, but as a rising dome of blue fire. The hunters fired. Their shots dissolved against the shield. More climbed in, but the barrier expanded, growing brighter, louder, unstoppable. Then, silence. The hunters were forced back, unable to enter. Ethan dropped to one knee, exhausted. The Queen knelt beside him. You saved us, she whispered. He shook his head. We saved each other. She touched his cheek gently. No fear, no hesitation. You are the reason your species is feared, she said, and the reason it must be protected. Ethan managed a weak smile. So what now? The Queen helped him stand. Now, we return, she said, not as prisoner and queen, but as allies. Ethan looked at her. Partners. Her eyes softened, truly softened, for the first time. Yes, she whispered. Partners. Together, they walked back toward the light, toward the galaxy waiting above, toward a future forever changed by one wounded human who refused to fall, and one alien queen who refused to let him fall alone.